I think it's the showings, right? I mean, the Cadiz and Shakhtar, like to just to fall apart so royally is
Yep.
really my thing. And I couldn't understand the people he was fielding. You know, like when in this game he subbed Nacho, injury or not, I was happy he subbed Nacho for Vasquez, and that's what he should have done. He should have played Vasquez instead of Nacho in that
Yep.
Cadiz game. And then, you know, the issue for me was, and for me, I am biggest Isco, the biggest anti-Isco fan in the world. He when Ancelotti was there, he was molding him into a center mid. It looked like he was going to take over Modric, and then he
Right.
all of a sudden turned into this attacking mid. And I'm like, we don't play with attacking mids anymore. Nobody plays with attacking mids anymore. For a good reason. If you see what happened to PSG in Champions League in the middle of the week, Neymar was playing as a cam, and what happened? He kept on losing the ball and losing the ball because everybody's past the midfield. That's where games are won. And then he went forward and he did the same thing. I'm like, why are you changing your starting lineup? Why you keep changing the front three? Nobody knows how to play with each other because you keep changing it. And so I get it. It's early experiment. And you know, your tactics have to adjust from team to team. But I like you know, that old school mentality of you know, Mourinho and Klopp when you just, I have the starting 11 unless there's an injury or something terrible personal happening to them. These are my players on field. Zidane did that for the Classico. Result, right?
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing with Barcelona. I mean, the first issue with this was he took Greasy out and he put Dembele out as well. So I looked at that lineup and I was like, all right, he took Greasy out because he's not performing. Fair point. He's getting a lot of heat. I don't like him personally. I don't think he fits with Barcelona DNA. Terrible choice to come along. Fine, but Dembele, coming off a strong performance, I would have expected him to start and have, you know, Messi as a striker, Dembele in the wing, and then Fati. And this guy shows up and he doesn't even put it in. And I was like, okay, how are we going to attack if we don't have the wing? And he just kept pressing with Zidane, kept pressing with with Messi, kept pressing and pressing. And I was like, Zidane is going to destroy us on the counter attack. And he did. First 5th minute, boom, goal. We respond.
That was a nice pass from.
It was a beautiful pass.
That was.
It was a beautiful pass. Nacho saw the opening. He took it, and then Neto just was basically clueless, and he just let it go. Fati responded. They were celebrating. Messi, you saw him celebrate. Okay, Messi's fired up. He's going to do something. And then there was nothing for like 70 minutes from our side. It was just empty. At the halftime, no change when there clearly should have been a change. He waited 80 minutes, finally put 3 changes. And then at the end of the game, the first thing the coach does is complain about the penalty. And I'm like, well, okay, if we take a look at the referee, and we can debate on this, we can take a look at the referee. For me, it's a clear foul. There's nothing else. That's the rules. He pulled the jersey. It's a foul. Whether the referee did it now or didn't do it in Betis, that's where the referees get a lot of heat. Why are you doing it in a Madrid game, but you're not doing it in a Barcelona game? That's the issue. If it was consistency, if you look at the rules, it's a foul. The other thing I didn't get is he didn't call a foul for Varane touching it with his hand. Maybe it wasn't penalty, but it was a yellow card. And he didn't do that. And then the next one was Casemiro doing the tackle on Messi. Okay, maybe it's not, again, a penalty, but you give him a yellow for the foul, and that would have been 2 yellows and a red. It was just inconsistency that you're looking at it. But what I can't understand is why the coach is blaming the ref. You should have never put Madrid in that position in the first place, coach. Literally, it's not the ref's fault. It's the team. Like the team failed.
So I wanted to ask you, what happened with Pjanic? Why didn't he start? Why did Busquets?
Yeah, I want to ask that too.
I think he was the weak link in that midfield.
So Pjanic coming off a questionable performance, it seemed that Koeman wanted to surprise Madrid and going with a younger core. Obviously, that did not play out with him. He should have gone experience over youth, and he should have introduced the youth at a later point when players were tired. Again, going back to your point about consistency and having a starting 11, he should have gone with the stronger people on paper and seeing if that played out at the half and maybe go for a change. He decided to go the inverse. Young first, older, later, and it didn't play well for him at all. He made 3 super late changes that didn't change anything. And what's even worse is Griezmann coming in at the 80th minute, having 10 minutes to play. If you're going to give Griezmann time, he's going to need 45 minutes because the guy is lost 60% of the time. So it didn't make sense. I don't personally think Griezmann fits in the Barcelona DNA. I don't understand why he came. I don't understand why he got bought. But if you're gonna buy him and not sell him, use him.
On that, right? I mean, I was saying the same thing about Coutinho. I mean, to be honest, if Coutinho didn't change his body so much, putting on 5 kilograms in Bayern Munich, and didn't change the way he because Bayern is very balanced. That's their mentality, efficiency and balance. And Barcelona doesn't really care so much about balance. They care more about efficiency. In other words, move the ball around. Don't dribble the ball. And Coutinho's used to dribbling the ball. He didn't work with Barcelona the first time around. He came back and he had adjusted the way he thought and adjusted the way his body was, so he could, instead of dribbling, take the foul as it's coming while your head is up and making the pass. And he did very well. My issue with him was that, one, they played too much through him. So what happened was Messi kept on having to track back and play defense. There were times where he had that foul on Vinny, which wasn't called, fine, but he had a foul on Cruz. He had a foul on Casemiro. Like, he was playing defense. If I read anything that says Messi is not motivated ever again, just let him go. Just let him go in January, because the way it is right now, Barcelona critiques, if they're fans, they don't deserve Messi anymore. I mean, you can't treat, it's like us whistling Ronaldo. I remember we whistled Ronaldo once. It came back the next day, and he walked in. He was pointing his ear after he scored his goal. Never once did we whistle at him ever again. And it's Real Madrid fans. We get this flack of, we just whistle a player. I mean, if you look at the players we were whistling, it makes sense. Isco, Bale, James. Those are the people who their performances didn't show. The next game after you get whistled, you got to step into it. Right? I mean, Varane would have been whistled if in the Shakhtar game, in the Cadiz game as well. But he came back and he showed and he stepped up. I mean, you could say, Ramos gave him that confidence. But, and ultimately for me, Griezmann's situation is that he needs to change the way he thinks. And unfortunately, Valverde is not the kind of coach to do that. Koeman, I think, can change the way he thinks. Koeman has that ability because Koeman understands the way Barcelona plays. Koeman understands other ways of playing, and Koeman understands that in order to get the best out of your players, you need to have them there mentally. That's why he's like, I want to talk to Messi. I want to make sure you're invested. He's not going to field the best player in the world if the best player in the world is not invested in the team. But I agree with you 100%. Griezmann does not fit unless Griezmann is given the opportunity to adjust the way he thinks and possibly adjust his body. Like, Busquets looks as skinny today as he did when he was 22, and he's trying to do these moves, and I'm like, you're a defensive liability. Coleman, why are you playing him? Wasn't that Pjanic's first game? The game, and then you're gonna bench him? He's just getting into it, And I was disappointed not seeing Pjanic, but I was even more disappointed that Barcelona decided to get rid of Artur for Pjanic. Both of them are going to suffer now because Artur is not playing with Pirlo, right? Because they brought in Artur before Pirlo, and Pirlo clearly didn't want him. And then Koeman clearly doesn't want Pjanic. So it's these boards that are making these decisions. And for me, as a Real Madrid fan, I went through this, right? Perez was always making the decisions, and then people come in and they have to shoehorn them in, and it didn't work. We almost did the same thing with Bale, but Zidane kept his foot down. He's like, no, he's not ready to be here, 100%. And I think, unfortunately, that transition needs to go back to what it was, where when, in the Fergie times, Josh knows, where the manager is making the decision on players, tactics, and all around, the whole sporting directive. When you have the manager who's playing FIFA and then thinking that, I can, like what Abramovich did with Chelsea. You don't bring in players and then force your coaches to make something of them when it doesn't work.
No, and I totally agree. The issue with Barcelona and the board is becoming a joke. I mean, this board You got a vote of no consent. I mean, it's due on the 28th. They're going to vote. You're looking at it and you're thinking, good Lord, like, is he going to get kicked out? Then if he gets kicked out, is he going to be responsible for the money he owes? And that's a different question. What I don't understand is why he keeps bringing these players that make no sense. It's clearly the team wanted Neymar back. That was the number one request. Okay, Neymar left in a terrible sense. He left in a terrible manner for any Barcelona fan. Even myself, I don't even want him back. But clearly the team wanted him. The coach didn't. So the coach put his foot down. He said, "No, I don't want that guy." Valverde or whoever the coach before was as well, they said no. But then the board brings in Griezmann, and the team clearly didn't want him since day one. I mean, if I'm correct, the rumors, if they're correct, I mean, imagine that Messi didn't even come and say hello to the guy. Suarez and Messi decided to completely say, okay, let's see how motivated he is. Because a year ago, when we gave him the opportunity to come in, he said no. So now he's coming in a year after.
He made that video too.
He made that video. Everyone, I remember Messi. Messi making a statement saying, "Hey, he's a strong player. He should be on this team if he wants to." He made a video with PK. The board was pissed off with PK because they were like, "Oh, you made a video. You knew the outcome, and he didn't choose to come along. So he decided not to come along. He made that decision. He renewed his contract and made that decision. He comes a year later in a team that doesn't want him, in a team that's hurt and needs someone else. They needed a striker and they needed a winger. Fati appears out of nowhere. So it's a God-given miracle that we even have Fati. If we didn't have Fati right now, I think that game would have been maybe 4 or 5-0, honestly.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah.
Because he was the only guy running with Alba, who's, 30 years old, who's running like he's Fati. And as you said, they kept using a side that was wrong. Pjanic, he's old or older.
Oh, yeah.
So if we traded him for Arthur, which made no sense. But if it was an economical sense, okay, then play him because he has experience now. He's not going to have experience in a year because in a year he might get injured and he's done. So play him now. You know, he's consistent. He played at Juventus. He did well. Play him now. He's not playing. Okay, play Puig. Oh, I'm sorry. Puig doesn't fill into your category as well. Okay, play Griezmann. Oh, I'm sorry. You don't like Griezmann as well because you can't change his mentality. And you're thinking, how many people off the bench do we have left? And as you said, Busquets is trying to do things at his age that he cannot. And it's become a liability as PK. You see it. The gaps, the slow pace, the holding up the ball. He reminded me of Pogba in the French team. He's just holding up the ball. And I'm like, you have to get rid of it. Get rid of it quick. Mm-hmm. So the game yesterday was just mind-blowing how at the end of it, the board surprisingly was like, oh, it's the ref. It's not the ref. The team was terrible. Coleman made terrible decisions on top of an 80-minute. Anyone that even plays remotely FIFA knows that if you're in crisis and you're down 1-1, you're definitely going to switch a player at the halftime.
Yeah.
And he didn't do that. Anyone knows this is basic. And this guy comes in 80 minutes.
So that was kind of, which was weird, right? Because Griezmann didn't play the Champions League. And then, everyone's thinking, okay, you're going to rest this guy for the El Clasico, which makes sense. And same thing too, is like, why did you play Messi the entire game? You're trying to rest. Messi's no longer 20-something years old that can play every game 90 minutes. So this game happens, El Clasico, and he's bringing Griezmann on the 82nd minute onto the game. I don't know. Like, do you feel that this could be Griezmann's last season at this point? Because I think Griezmann, I think he does okay. When I might not be watching it as a fan, maybe. I know as a fan you want to see a bit more from a player because you're used to seeing that player week in, week out. I think Griezmann, it's a tough one because he's not a natural number 9, but I think he's trying to figure out how can he work with Messi. I think that's going to be. I don't know how he would work with Messi.
So to answer your question, I would pray to God this is his last season. Literally, I can't stand the guy anymore. I've seen him on the French team. He can't play as a striker. It's clear. I mean, anyone that's watched any Atletico Madrid games, he is not a striker. He has a striker in front of him. He's a center forward or a cam, and he uses that to be able to get the ball and strike from behind. He is not a striker. If Messi goes forward as a striker, which he's never been a striker, I mean, Pep Guardiola reinvented his position and put him as a false 9. He's still a false 9. He goes in the middle, on the right, center. In the middle, on the right, center. He always in the same position. It's a free roam, exactly. That's exactly where Griezmann belongs. Now, Who would I choose over Messi and Griezmann with the titles? Clearly Messi. So Griezmann has nothing to do there. Has nothing to do there. Because you have to think, and I get why you may say that, but Messi has the experience on that team. He knows how to play tiki-taka. He knows how to invest himself. He knows how to dribble the ball. He knows how to send the ball. Griezmann is one of a guy that can't send the ball. He's only given the ball, and he shoots if he's lucky. So he's not a guy I would build my team around. He's a supplement for sure, but I wouldn't build my team around Griezmann. And then he played on the French team a couple of weeks ago, and Olivier Giroud, after knocking down his 100 goals or 100 selections, he's like, "Oh, Griezmann is the future. Messi is not." And you're thinking, if he's the future, why did he have lower goals than Suarez had in his last season? Why does he have lower goals than Iniesta, who's a midfielder? It's like it doesn't make sense. And he's been given 3 coaches, 3 different years, 3 independent reviews. He could have pushed on. I see him smiling when he's warming up at the 80th minute on the bench. And I'm like, why are you smiling? It's the 80th minute. If anything, I would be furious. I would go to the coach and be like, are you serious? I cost 150 mil and you're not playing me?
Okay.
What's wrong with you?
Yves, so that's where my issue is now. It's such a hard thing because if he was not smiling, then it's, he's being, he's being.
I rather see attitude.
He's being negative, right? And I think I think it's good that he's smiling because he's showing some sense of positivity, and he knows that Coleman doesn't like him. So what is he going to do?
Coleman likes him. That's the worst part.
I think Griezmann is giving Messi too much respect. When you see Ansu Fati, I think that's what is making him different, shine out. Is when he has the ball, he's going to create that opportunity, and if he sees there's a window, he's going to take it. I think Griezmann is too much of that tiki-taka. He reminds me of a Martial, with United, whereby sometimes the link-up play is too much. Sometimes you just need to go direct. And I think that's what Griezmann keeps doing. It's this 1-2s, 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 and hoping, and it's like, look for Messi, because he doesn't want to be the guy making that mistake, because what's going to happen is, Griezmann, you should have passed it to Messi. And I think that's where he needs to get out of his head and say, you know what? People might not believe I'm the future of Barcelona, but I think I am. He's much younger than Messi, like 5 years or 4 years younger than Messi. So he still has a bit more playing time than Messi does. So I think he needs to start thinking at it from a leadership standpoint now is sometimes maybe I'm okay to take the criticism if I'm not able to put that ball in the back of the net, but at least I'm trying to take, that initiative for myself versus trying to leave it for Messi or hope that, so that way, just so that Messi takes the attention away from, and he's not the only person getting criticized. So that's what I would say with Griezmann.
And I'll let Jeff speak as well, but it's because I'm dominating this conversation from my anger. It's just like, but
it happens.
But
that's on cloud 9.
If I look, exactly, he's super happy. His problem solved, at least for a week.
I'm like Griezmann warming up at the touchline.
Exactly. So if you look at Barcelona, and as Jeff said earlier, you have to respect Messi. He did so much for the team. You can't just sit there and criticize a guy that's going in defense, going in attack, scoring goals, doing everything he can. At 32 years old, if I risk of injuring myself, I wouldn't be playing as aggressive as him. I wouldn't be going for the tackles where I could break my ankle and that could be my last year. I'd be holding back. I would literally be pacing myself and be like, okay, well, let's see who the new guys are, because I have no interest in injuring myself and this being my last season. This guy's going all in. And then I look at Griezmann. Respect, no respect. I look at Ansu Fati. He smiles when he's on the pitch. He doesn't smile when he's warming up. He's focused. You see that he has a motivation. He's focused. He's ready to come in. He respects the players. When he misses a ball, he says, I'm sorry. That's called respect. Griezmann, it feels as though he's comfortable there, and he's like, if I smile, everyone will see I'm included. No, man, you need to revolt. Like there needs to be a change in your attitude. You need to be strong. You need to fight your way through. You need to be like, no, this is my place. Show Messi you're here. Show Messi you want to. I don't think I've ever seen Suarez warming up, smiling because he's getting chipped in at the 80th minute. He would be furious. He would come in and be like, I'm going to destroy this team. And Griezmann's just sitting there and he's smiling and he's coming in, he's shaking hands, he's walking around, little pace, 1-2, 1-2, and you're like, shouldn't you be looking at creativity? It's like Fati's all the way over there, Dembele's all the way over there, and you keep passing it to Messi. Like, stop. just do something. Shoot, give it a shot. I mean, we need to do something to change the pace. And it's just very bizarre how this team even managed to get a 1-1. It should have been worse. Honestly, it should have been worse. That's what's sad. And I told you before we started this game.
Also, I just feel like the mentality in that team is. Sorry, Jeff. I know you're going to add on to this. I think the mentality is just deflated. You know, in the team, from what I can see, everyone is questioning Messi's attitude, which I do agree with you. You should not question Messi's loyalty to Barcelona or his desire to still play. Obviously, he was gassed out by the last 20 minutes. I'm like, where's Messi on this field? So but that's because he's been doing that defensive duty that he shouldn't be doing. So I don't think it's a Messi thing. It's a Griezmann thing. I think the whole team is just not set up the right way. And I think when you have a new coach that comes in and is already pointing out the players that he doesn't like, that's a huge problem.
It's a red flag.
That's a red flag. Yeah. And then you bring yourselves to like 7 minutes to the end of the game. That's showing me like it's kind of sorry, not to take it back to United, but it's kind of what Ole does. You know, it's when the coach doesn't have when a coach doesn't have, I feel they don't have enough confidence in their subs. You know, they don't have enough confidence in the subs, so that they just bring in the subs just to, you know, to make it seem like, okay, you know what? I gave Greasy a run around on the field. You know, he should have done something, even though, 7 minutes is a long time in a game, but it's still not that much of a time to make that kind of impact in a game whereby everyone around the pitch was making horrendous mistakes.
Jeff knows, for example, in Madrid, they got rid of Ronaldo. What happened then? Zidane left. Exactly. Then it started crumbling. But they didn't buy anyone that much. And then Azar has been basically Bale number 2. He's been non-existent. And then our Bale is clearly Greasy and Coutinho. Coutinho's been back, but Coutinho has not been used the right way. Again, I was expecting something different. What I don't appreciate from Koeman, and I wanted Koeman since day one. I was like, he has a DNA, he can potentially bring it in. But what he's showing is the first red flag he showed is basically calling Suarez and saying, hey, you're not part of the team. I'm like, okay, but we don't have cash. So who do you want to buy? And okay, you're getting rid of Suarez and you're not even saying thank you. And then Messi issue debacle. And you're thinking, okay, this is the first time Messi's releasing a video and he's basically opening his heart and he's saying, listen, I didn't want to go to court against Barcelona. I wanted to leave. He didn't let me. I wanted to go to City, have a new experience, and I'm staying. Don't question my loyalty because I'm staying and I'm giving it all in. He has, undeniably. Then I look at Griezmann and I'm like, are you going to talk or are you going to say something or are you going to score goals or are you just going to sit there like Bale and play golf? Like, what's going on here? And Jeff knows because, you know, his team didn't buy anyone. We sold Semedo and got Dest, which to me was a fair buy, but not at the right time. We shouldn't have bought anyone in that position yet. I think we should have bought a striker. And Depay was on the books. Martinez was on the books. And you're like, guys, we are down a striker. And the Danish guy that we have who wanted number 9 so desperately, Blatevald, it was a panic buy. So you're looking at Barcelona, you're like, it's not set up the right way. The coach is not giving the right signals. He's not motivating players the right way. He's losing in a Classico in a manner he did. If he had lost 3-1 and he had put everyone in, I would have been like, wasn't our year. It happens. That's football. But the way he lost and then the way he complains about the ref makes me think that this team is going to go down further down. Now, the good news is we have elections. If someone else gets elected, and I think will be Victor Font, the first thing he says, he would do, he will get rid of Koeman, he will sell Grisi, he will put Xavi in, and then he will give him a blank check and saying, hey, for the next 4 years, you do what you need to do, get me back to the winning top, and then that's it. But the way we're going about it is like, now I'm wondering whether it's the board that's doing it on purpose to get fired, or it's Grisi that's doing it on purpose to get sold, because I see Coutinho coming back and fighting. I don't see that from Grisi. Not even one bit.
I will say this.
I'll let Jeff talk.
No, go ahead. I will say this.
I can't say no more. I'm so angry. I can't say no more.
It's passion, man.
Koeman was a defender, right? And he has not fixed Barcelona's problem that they've had since Ronaldo was there. The moment Pep Guardiola left, Barcelona's problem has always been your defenders.
Yep.
PK was not it. Everybody, you just had, if you just counterattack, which everybody did, they said we're going to absorb, put 5 people in the midfield or 5 defenders and have only 1 attacker with pace, right? It's the Athletic Bilbao model. And destroy. That's the only way, actually, that's the only way you can beat Barcelona is you pressure the defenders because they're garbage. Now you have fullbacks who are aging and a new fullback. Like you can't figure out, honestly, the moment Dani Alves left, for me, that was the beginning of the end for Barcelona's decisions of bringing people in. Because then they started bringing in Andres Gomez, Denis Suarez, fixing the place that they should have been planning for from the moment Xavi said, this is my last year. And then they didn't. So they needed to fix defense and midfield. You fix the midfield kind of with De Jong. You got Puig now. And the problem is that you don't have a holding mid that can protect the defenders. So either you get better defenders or else you get a new holding midfield player. Koeman didn't do that. Mistake number 1. When you get rid of when they brought in Pjanic, you say, fine. So I have De Jong and Pjanic, but I need somebody to protect my defenders. You guys are always going to concede goals until you fix your defensive issues. And that's one thing I give Dan praise for. When he came back, he said the defense is the key. Brought in Mendy. I think he did a bad job with Hakimi, but Hakimi also does not play good defense. But neither does Odriozola. We need somebody to back up Carvajal. That's, for me, his biggest mistake in the last 2 years. But going back to Barcelona, for me, the blaming of the ref was because they didn't want to put it on Koeman. And Koeman was trying to take it off of him. Because what's been happening? When we've been losing, Zidane is the first person that gets called out. It's only Real Madrid fans that are saying, no, the players didn't do jack, right? Lose against Shakhtar again. Oh, Zidane is about to get fired. And before Barcelona won in Champions League, Koeman was on the hot seat. Is Koeman not back on the hot seat? For me, Koeman should be on the hot seat. For me, Koeman messed up by not playing Griezmann as the striker. Because what he did was, in the lineup, he had Messi as the striker. And then he changed it. The moment he saw what was happening and that the fullbacks were getting pushed up and pinned, he's like, I need somebody to force the defenders to have to stay centrally, to not go and help out. And then that will eventually pull Casemiro and Valverde to the wings to help out. And then what would that do? It'll free Messi and his free roaming to make, and that's what he did. And he was making these balls to Jordi and stop pinning. It was smart, but you died on your right side because Messi was then more central and more left, and he had nobody on the right. But if he had Ansu Fati on the right or on the left, and put Griezmann on the top, and Coutinho could then Coutinho and Messi could work together, then every time Coutinho was involved, Messi was free. Casemiro would have to track him. Every time Messi was on the ball, Coutinho would be free, and then Valverde would have to track him. That's tactical brilliance. Koeman does not have that last little bit. What he's doing with Netherlands is because he has Virgil van Dijk right there, the best defender in the world after Sergio Ramos, just sitting, just stopping everything and controlling everybody. PK can't control the back line. PK can't control the defenders in front of him. The midfielders in front of him. PK's too busy trying to figure out where Vinicius is. In that run-up, it was all PK's fault because PK doesn't have the pace. Even Valverde could beat him, and so PK was thinking, okay, Benzema is the problem. I'm gonna D up on Benzema so he can't, because Benzema's good on the ball, and that was smart. But he didn't communicate to anybody else because Lenglet should have been the one following Valverde's run then. Right?
No,
if you're going to step up.
Yes.
No, I fully agree. No. What Jeff is basically
one at fault in that first goal. Well,
you said there's nobody at fault?
There's no. Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead. No, sorry. I was just saying, I think Busquets did not track back. With Valverde just breeze past him.
No,
easily.
you have to see from a defender perspective that the four guys in the back make the attacking guys strong, right? And then the midfield kind of controls the pace. But it goes back to Jeff's point. The defense is key to winning anything. And that's why why does Guardiola spend 300 mil on defenders? He knows the key to win. He knows that you're only as strong as your defense when you're winning. So you look at Barcelona, and we got Longley, and I'm thinking, okay, fine. But Umtiti is nowhere to be found. And you're like, it's like, what's going on here? So we haven't replaced that. And then you look at Piqué, who's aging, who's not doing well. He's playing in the Classico. I get it. He has the DNA of playing in many of them, but that doesn't make him a star. But that's the only guy we have. What I don't get is how we managed to have more possession than Madrid, more corners than Madrid, and yet concede, and not only concede this late in the game, but also get screwed on the wings. If we have more possession, I think we had 52 versus 47 on their end, on your end, Jeff. And you're thinking, okay, so we control the midfield. No, what that's telling you is that Barcelona were holding the ball in the defense, not knowing where to go left and right in the midfield. And basically that was happening the entire time. I think Piqué had more passes from Piqué and Longley than Busquets and De Jong. And you're thinking that should have never happened. What should have happened was the trio in the middle. It should have been Messi, De Jong, Busquets controlling the pace, Griezmann in the front, the wingers as support, and then the back needed to be solid. The back was not solid. It was flaky. The wings flaky. Only Alba and Fati were running. Coutinho was lost. He didn't know where to send the ball left, right, etc. That's not because he's a bad player. He just didn't have that option.
Yeah.
And then Griezmann is on the bench smiling and warming up, and you're like, dude, why are you smiling?
He's laughing all the way to the bank.
Exactly. He's like, exactly. He's just like, you guys can bench me. I'm making money. And you're just like, you need to leave. Like,
it's like Dale with his toilet roll.
Exactly. the core thing that Jeff said, and it's 100% right. If I am to take over this team, the number two areas that you're going to basically fix is the defense and the attack. Messi's aging. We need to find a replacement ASAP. We need to put some serious dollars behind it, or make Fati a striker somehow and be a miracle. And then you look at the defense. Why didn't we get that guy from Inter Milan, Skina? Why didn't we get that guy? He was perfect for the team. Well, we spent it on. Yeah, it's like, why didn't we get him? Or Koulibaly,
Barca would not.
Napoli.
Well, Barca has financial difficulties right now. So Inter Milan.
If we had financial difficulty, why did we get Pjanic? Why did we sell Semedo and get Dents?
Wasn't that just a trade deal?
It wasn't trade. It was trade plus
trade and money. It was real money.
If you're going to sell Arthur for 70 million, wouldn't it make sense to get a defender? Wouldn't it make sense to give him to Inter Milan instead of Juventus and get Pjanic?
Yeah.
And if I'm going to sell Griezmann to get, let's just wishful shopping list, the holy grail, you get Mbappe. I would put 200 mil plus Griezmann. Take him, please, take him, and get Mbappe. But they won't do that. What's going to happen is that they're going to sell Griezmann to some other team. We're not going to get top value for it, and we're going to get a second-rate striker again until hopefully La Masia brings out another Messi. And that's what's sad about it. That's what I hope. Exactly. That's what I hope the new board that comes in, figures out that La Masia is going to take 10, 15 years to rebuild because it's been decimated. The top players that we should have had left. So we're going to need to adapt, and we're going to need to spend big or end up like AC Milan.
Do you think? I don't know, man. I don't think Mbappe is going to be the answer for Barcelona.
I think he's
going to end up being another.
I think
until Messi leaves, I don't think Mbappe would be your answer. You need somebody.
I mean, let's just not even talk about that because he's coming to Madrid. So let's just scratch that. You talk about Lewandowski before Mbappe, man. So
exactly.
Neymar before that. So
if you look at Madrid, and I look at Azar, he's a waste of a buy. But everyone knew that before he was going. He's a waste. Everyone knew he was gonna fail because guys that come from the Prem going to La Liga, not good. Never a good decision. Never has been. He's been inconsistent.
Yep.
Weight issues on top of that. You look at Holben. You look at all those guys that came from before. They haven't worked. I look at Mbappe. Mbappe, what's amazing to watch about him is he adapts to the damn situation. If he goes to Madrid, which he most likely will be. It's his dream. And normally a player fulfills his dream, unless some screw up that he's offered more cash by Liverpool, or he makes a change of heart last minute, someone sways him to go to Barcelona. He's for sure going on one-way ticket to Real Madrid. And if that is so, you plank him in a striker, and he's going to make it. The reason for that is because he has this ability to change the game. And Barcelona have been relying on Messi to change the game for too long. They've been waiting for Messi to just open up the wings, open this up, and score, etc. When Ibrahimovic came to the team, everyone knew it was going to be an issue because he would have to fight his spot with Messi. A rising star Messi versus an old Ibrahimovic. Pep made his decision day one. I'm going with Messi. You can sit on the bench. And Ibra didn't want to do that. Therefore, the fight and etc. He left, and he made the position for the youth. If I look at Mbappe, I think if he were hypothetically coming to Barcelona, he would have that youth ability. I think Messi would really see talent and say, okay, I'm going to feed this guy. He doesn't see that with Griezmann. Griezmann's not hungry like he is with Mbappe. And if, let's just say, miracle that Neymar does come back, end of contract, not easy. And Neymar isn't young anymore. Neymar is inconsistent with injuries. If he comes back, he'll be Hazard. He'll be inconsistent, maybe even overweight, partying too much. He'll be like, finally, I'm back where I belong. And he'll be like Ronaldinho. He'll be like Ronaldinho in his last days. I'm going to go party. I'm going to do this. And you're like, dude, you need to focus on winning because you said you left for a bigger team, which we're still waiting for. And you haven't won anything. And you were overtaken by a guy that you didn't anticipate, Mbappe. Now he seriously needs to look at his future. Yes, the logical solution would be to bring him back. But I tell you this, if Xavi takes over and Victor Font, I guarantee you, and you'll see this, they'll go all in for Mbappe and lose because his number one dream is to go to Madrid. We should be focused on guys like Martinez. I really like Hakimi. He didn't work at Madrid, but I really like him as a right back. I really like Skinner from Inter Milan. I like Koulibaly from Napoli. Those guys make sense in the team. You may not get the holy grail, but you can build a team. And Madrid, for example, I actually see Sancho, Mbappe, and I forgot the guy's name from defender from Dortmund. I think he's a Spanish guy, Gomez, or I can't remember his name. Anyway, I see those guys.
Interesting.
Yeah, I see those guys being in Madrid and perfectly mingle. I see Gomez being a top. I don't understand how Madrid couldn't get Ferran Torres. And why did Pep get him? Because he was so much closer to Madrid, and City got him. It's for cash.
Obviously. Yeah, let's go.
Yeah, it's like I would have gotten Torres if I was Madrid. Easy. No
but
issues.
I think Madrid right now, you can tell that they're saving money for next summer. I think next summer is going to be a big splash for Real Madrid. And I know, Jeff, you had talked about the frustration you have with Zidane constantly changing the team. That's kind of, you can kind of look at Real Madrid. You guys don't really have that many options, and you have an aging team. So I can kind of see why Zidane is sort of changing the teams. Like he's always defending himself on that, is that it's a long season. So he's really trying to ensure that he can make sure that these players are still fresh. Do you believe that maybe just Zidane doesn't have the options to, they're not young enough players anymore that he can just keep having the same starting 11 week in, week out? Do you think that could be a reason why he's changing that team?
He's changing, and Jeff, I'll speak first. He's changing the team for a specific reason. I think Zidane is out of options with the limited team he has. They haven't bought anyone. And now he's rotating the squad because he doesn't know what to do with the squad. It's very difficult when you haven't bought someone. And Modric is 34, 35. I mean, you guys that are seriously old, and he's trying to play those new guys. So he can only flip as much as he can to make sure the stamina and the ability to play is at a higher base. If I look at Barcelona, that should be the same issue. He should be flipping the starting 11 if he can, but he can't because we don't have that many on the bench. So I think Madrid is suffering from a classic, no transfer drought syndrome. And they're going to have to flip it over to what they can. I do think that Madrid, the benefit of Zidane is that Madrid knows the players well. So he knows how motivated they are. If he doesn't like a player, he's not afraid to say it. Bale is the classic example. I think Hazard is going to have a serious issue if he doesn't step up. I think he's going to be Bale number 2. But I really think that He's doing the best with what he can.
Yeah, I think Bale. The reason why I wouldn't say Bale is on the same level as Hazard is because Bale's actually done stuff for Real Madrid. As much as in recent history, everyone can make fun of him with his golf. But come on, man, that guy he won stuff for Real Madrid, and he wasn't winning stuff off the bench. He was actually, I guess the BBC, right? I think he's done pretty well. And the last Champions League that Real Madrid won, he scored two fantastic goals. So yes,
it's not about
to that point, but I think Hazard still has to prove himself. I think
that's the point. He has to prove himself, and he's showing signs. He's showing signs of post-Bale, coming in overweight, not training, coming in not motivated, getting injured all the time. He's showing signs of what Bale became, and that's what's alarming. If he came in as Bale, hungry, wants to score, was scoring goals, beautiful goals. I remember the goal that he scored against Madrid, Barcelona. He literally went outside the ring, outside the pitch, came in and shot that goal. Everybody was shocked. I was like, wow, this what a buy. I haven't seen that from Hazard. I'm seeing him hold the ball. I'm seeing a glimpse of Bale. And Jeff, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but it's alarming. And they spent a lot of money on this guy. And it's funny that Barcelona and Madrid are suffering from the same thing that the teams, ironically, are rivalries, but they're suffering the same things. You have two teams that were winning.
I know the answer.
And on decline.
I know the answer.
Don't say PSG and City.
Is what a lot of big teams are going through is because these teams are in a stage of transition, and a lot of times teams want to just buy big players to patch it up. Right now, Barcelona is going through a heavy transition. You guys have great young stars that can fill in Messi's shoes or try to replicate that, but it's going to take time. There's going to be a lot of inconsistencies. We see that with Manchester. You see that with Chelsea. You see that with a lot of teams whereby there's a lot of talent on there, but it's getting them to get to that level where they can be consistent. The reason why I would say this with Barcelona, and that's why Barcelona keeps getting exposed in Europe, is because in the league, Messi can kind of do it for a bit. You know what I mean? Like, you still have Messi, who is like that patch that is kind of masking what is actually going on in the club. Once Messi leaves, you're going to see a huge decline, kind of like how Real Madrid had with Ronaldo. And Real Madrid is still struggling with that. Like, the average player in Real Madrid is 32 years old? That's an aging squad.
I would agree with you, and I'll let Jeff talk after that. But Chelsea had one issue, one thing in their mind is to put their name on the map in the Prem when they started. That was it. So they were buying players, pumping in cash to be able to win something. City, same thing. They pump money to be able to put their name on the map to eventually get where they are now, which is get Pep, become champions, constantly have this name. No matter how much they're hated, they managed to get their goal. Man U, the biggest issue with Man U is that you fail to understand what was your game. You fail to understand that once Fergie left, you basically adapted to whatever coach. It should have been the Fergie way since the beginning, and it wasn't. It was the Mourinho way. It was this way. Or it was that way. Barcelona and Madrid have key identities, and they stick to it. The issue with that is that, as Jeff said earlier, the board controls who they buy, and they buy the wrong players at the wrong time, and they invest in the wrong people, and that screws up the entire team. If the coaches a little bit more freedom in building what they could and still have that identity like Madrid and Barcelona, we wouldn't be in this mess right now. Because I think Perez screwed up a lot, and Bartomeu is. Let's not talk about him because I really hope there's criminal charges here. But it's come to the point where you're like, okay, guys, if it's not tiki taka and we're supposed to invent something, we still have to be tiki taka in some sense. That's who we are. Let's stick to it. And Man U now with Ole are finally realizing what they should be, which is the Fergie way. Play that way. Buy players that make sense. You guys are in a better shape than us because at least we're seeing some kind of positivity. Versus Madrid and Barcelona,
but that's
Madrid better than Barcelona.
Time, but we've gone through how many coaches? Moyes, Van Gaal,
again,
coaches.
It's not the coaches. It's not the coaches. What I'm saying, it's the time it took you to find your identity. If even those coaches, there was no identity. You finally have your identity. So you're basically 1 or 2 years ahead of Madrid and Barcelona. Atletico Madrid have put a patch on whatever their issues are. So they're going to be the next Barcelona and Madrid because they bought Suarez, they bought other key guys, and they're like, okay, now it's a win now or never. And they're not doing well. Once those guys get old and leave, they're going to be in the same rut because Felix isn't doing it for them. It was a buy that's just hasn't nourished to what they want. And Jeff now could talk about Madrid, but Madrid, Benzema is going to leave eventually. Modric is going to leave eventually. Some of these guys, Ramos is going to leave eventually. And then the question is, will they burn through the cash to go to Mbappe, or are they going to spread it out? Because that's the next syndrome. PSG did the same thing. They pumped money. They got the players they want to put their name on the map. They should have won last year. They didn't. They should have. They didn't. Now they're going to have to rebuild the whole damn thing because those two players, their top players, Neymar, Mbappe, and Di Maria are on the verge of all leaving. I don't know who they have left after that.
Yeah.
Di Maria is going to go. Mbappe wants to go to Madrid. And I guarantee you Neymar won't stay if it's like that. Whether he's still the star of the team, he's going to be like, I'm out. That's why I said Man U last week or last time we spoke, because I think that if he's going to leave and Barcelona doesn't want him, Man U is going to offer cash to say, okay, we need a player that's going to put us on the map. Or
at this point, no one can really afford the Neymar ticket. But let's
he has a Puma. He has a Puma kit. Who else has a Puma? Who has a Puma kit with in the Prem? City.
Oh, yeah. That's true. That's true. Wait, didn't they go to Nike or did they go from Nike to Puma?
Nike to Puma. So if anyone's going to benefit from that deal, it'll be him. But let's see. Anyway, sorry, Jeff. Your turn.
No. All good. What was the question? You asked something about Hazard, I think, right?
I think it's
just in general, the state of Real Madrid. I know we've kind of touched on most of the questions I was really going to be asking. My take is also, how do you see, obviously, because this game was really about how weak the defensive units were for obviously both teams, notably Barcelona. Like, do you feel that there is a difference with Ramos on the field? Because I feel like Varane has really been kind of shaky as of late. Even for France, I didn't really see a great performance from him. Do you feel that Ramos still has a lot to give to that team?
Oh yeah. No, Ramos, he has one more year left, but they're going to re-sign him. Probably for two with an option. Varane has been a disappointment. I read an article and they said that the veterans in Madrid, they have their stomachs full, and when your stomach is full, it's hard to find something new, a new motivation.
Yeah.
Varane has won everything. He's in his mid to late 20s. He doesn't really have any other reason to play on an elite level other than Ramos beside him, dragging him along.
Yeah.
His showing with Militao, with Nacho on his side has been horrendous. Even the couple of goals that were scored during the week with Cadiz and Ramos, it was he was at fault in Shakhtar. He wasn't tracking back, right? And there's a sense of he needs a chip on his shoulder. Even at France, who's he fighting with? Umtiti? No. Lenglet? No. There's nobody. The moment you get like Upamecano from RB Leipzig, once he gets called up, there are even Laporte. I'm surprised Laporte has never been called up to the French. It's crazy to me. He needs a chip on his shoulder. And I think that's the issue in United with Pogba. He now has a chip on his shoulder because Fred is playing out of his mind, right? Even Barcelona. I think Koeman is trying to put chips on everybody's shoulder. He's not really becoming successful in it because of the way he's going about it, and also because he doesn't have as many options in the defense to put chips on people's shoulders. Kind of like what's happening in Madrid. We just have Militao, who is, for me, he's a Europa League player. I don't know what he's doing on our squad. He always seems lost. I don't know how he led the line at Porto. And I was a big supporter of him when he first came. But I think it's because of the Brazilian blood. I was like, oh yeah, we got another fast technical guy. Nope. We got another wanderer. He's like Marcelo, a 6 foot Marcelo. And then, so for me, I think Madrid, we need Mbappe. I believe that is why we didn't bring anybody in except for Hazard. Hazard has, for me, wow. Hazard is like Coutinho, Griezmann, Dembele. You don't build your team around him. You build supporting cast like Alexis Sanchez, right? You don't build the team around him. He's not an Ibrahimovic. He's not a Ronaldo. He's not a Messi. He's not a Sergio Aguero. He's not even a Mane. You know what I'm saying? He's kind of like, he is a lot like Griezmann. He's not creative. It's because of his skill on the ball and he's a threat on finishing. He draws people in, and then what does that do? It opens things up, and that is what has filled Valverde. It's filling Koeman. It's because they don't realize that Griezmann can drag a lot of attention away from Messi to make these passes that open up the players for one-on-one. That's Hazard's game, and so it was very difficult to fit him in with Benzema because Benzema does the same thing. He plays with the ball at his feet and then pulls everybody to him, and then you got Bale over here or Ronaldo over there, or you have Vinicius over there and Asensio over there. It was Bale at one point, but thank God he got rid of him. I don't think Griezmann is your thing. I think Griezmann is more like Hamed because he still has the quality. He just doesn't fit in your system. And he won't fit in your system unless you were to bring in the Deschamps. And then if you brought in a Deschamps, he's probably going to bring Giroud because Deschamps doesn't know what he's doing with his left.
Jeff couldn't have said it better, and that's what it is. Griezmann doesn't fit in the system. I mean, as many as we tried, 3 years in a row, different coaches, doesn't fit in the system. And at one point, you have to cut your losses. We're wasting enough time on this guy, and his value is dropping, and it's a business. He needs to go. And then...
if you were to sell him, who's going to buy Griezmann for 100 mil right now?
No one. And that's why I'm saying that's why I'm saying he should be on a trade with someone that we really want to get and pump more money for who we want. But he has to be on a trade. If I were really Barcelona, I would sell him for try PSG and see if they're willing to negotiate for Neymar, if that really is the guy they want, or give him to Dortmund and see if they're really willing to. Yeah, honestly, I wouldn't do it. But who knows?
Let Neymar go. He's not what you need anymore, man.
I don't want him. Trust me.
You know what I'm saying?
I'm with you. I don't want Neymar, but the team just keeps screaming for them. But if it would really be the goal of the team and the new board to get someone back, because then okay, trade him. But if I were really Barcelona, I would go out and get someone that's completely different. Go and negotiate with Dortmund and see if they're willing to let go Sancho. Go and negotiate with Man U and see if they're willing to let go Rashford. Go and negotiate with what's his name? It's City, and see if we can get Rodri or another defender. Or it's like there are players that we should be getting that we're not getting. And I think you heard Jeff's number one wish list, Mbappe, and he will get that wish. What's the number one wish list for Barcelona? No one knows.
No one knows.
That's what hurts. What's the number one? Exactly. Like, do we know?
Martinez was your number one target.
But now we're hearing Depay.
The guy, yeah.
And then what's Man U's number one target? Sancho. All summer they tried to get Sancho. So every team has a target who they clearly want to put in line. And Barcelona's like, 1 week it's Depay, the next week it's Mbappe, the third week it's guys. You don't have a project. It's clear. And then to go back to Jeff's point, we don't have a Ramos that scores goals for the goals that strikers should be scoring. Ramos is lethal for Madrid. He's the motivator. He's the Puyol. He's the motivator. He's the guy that pushes. He's the guy that asks for penalties when there isn't. As much as you hate it, you need that guy.
Mm-hmm.
You want a guy like that that's going to be on your team, be like, hey, there's a foul. No, there isn't. Screw you. There's a foul. You need that guy. And I haven't seen that on Man U. I haven't seen that in Barcelona. I don't see that in the other teams. And that's why Real Madrid have been able to be level, because Zidane can depend on him. Now, you bring in Mbappe. The first thing Mbappe is going to do is struggle with Hazard. He's going to be like, I can't play with this kid. He's holding up the ball. I need the ball. I'm fast. What am I going to do? You bring Mbappe to Barcelona, he's going to struggle with Messi because they're playing in the same position. or he's going to struggle with Griezmann because Griezmann is nowhere to be found. The things with the teams nowadays, I think it's the coaches that determine how they're playing, and the boards need to trust the teams, the coaches a bit more. If you take a guy like Coman, either you go all in with him or you tell him, hey, it's just 1 year. And Madrid have done that with Zidane. They're saying, we're all in with you. Ole, they haven't fired him, even though in other teams he would have been fired long ago, and they haven't fired him. Pep, not winning Champions League, 6 years in a row? I would have fired the guy. They're sticking with him.
Yeah.
So it's either they get on their backs and they trust people like Pirlo, now heading Juventus. You either trust the coach and you go all in and let him make the decisions, and stop buying players that don't make sense. And I think this is going to be a very interesting year.
I will say, I know we're running out of time, but I will say that I think they trusted Valverde. They trusted Valverde to the point where even the players trusted him, and then they went and made that ridiculous Setien decision. They just needed somebody to, Bartomeu just needed somebody to blame because he knew the vote of no confidence was rearing its ugly head.
Correct.
And for me, the thing, Xavi is not the answer. If you're getting that good at Coleman, the coach at Ajax, I forgot his name. That guy has a system, plan, and he knows how to get the best out of the young players who you guys have. If not him, then Pochettino, who's shown he can do the same thing with young players.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
And I cannot fill in the gaps. And so
I cannot believe Coleman between Pochettino got the role. It's beyond me.
Well, they were looking at Xavi. Xavi's not ready. Xavi's been coaching.
Xavi's not ready, exactly. But Poch,
even Zidane, at least he coached Castilla. Let Xavi come back and coach your youth team, Barca B.
Yeah,
let him show that he can coach in Europe, even at a lower level. Because coaching in Qatar is nothing compared to coaching in any, even in North America is more intense.
Couldn't agree more.
I think the key here now for a team like Barcelona is not necessarily Masai. You need your youth development to come back, because that's what brought you Iniesta, Xavi, Busquets, right? Another key, you don't have Puyol and Ramos were of the same generation. Ramos was like his younger brother, and that's what we are benefiting from now. You lost Puyol, and Piqué became this just mouthpiece. He was political. He was doing business. He was just everywhere, and he didn't give Barcelona that focus on, like, you don't see Ramos on social media. What does Ramos do? Ramos motivates, Ramos talks, but only when wearing a Real Madrid jersey. Outside of that, exactly.
No, but that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. Ramos has been focused. Piqué has been all over the place. And like you said, Valverde was potentially a coach that we should have gotten behind a lot more. But this board has been a disaster. And I agree with you. I do not think Xavi is the answer. I think he doesn't have the experience. I think Victor Font is dreaming by telling me that he wants to bring in Xavi when Xavi has no experience. I would be actually scared about his project and say, guys, he hasn't won anything. If I'm going to go out and get myself a coach, I'm going to give a blank check to Poch. Bring him in. Do something and see where he develops. I mean, he developed Spurs. You can't take that away from him. And he knows Spain. He managed the enemy team in Barcelona. He knows it.
Yeah.
He managed Coutinho. He managed Coutinho in there as well. He knew what was going on. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. And I think the board, we're 4 days away from that potential vote. It'll be interesting. But I think if I realistically set the expectation, I'd be very surprised if we make it in the top 4. Realistically,
that was actually going to be my question next.
No. I said the same thing to Josh's brother Kelechi, who's a Real Madrid fan like me. And I said when we had Lopetegui and then went to Solari, I said, "Yo, are we not making Champions League?" Like, no. We'll always make Champions League, but we're not winning the league, right? And I think that's it for you guys. And even that year, we ended up just 1 point off a second. It turned out that we ended better than we started. I think for me, Barcelona's answer is this: Messi. What do you need for you to stay? If it's Neymar, we'll bring Neymar. If we can't bring back Suarez, because it doesn't make any sense. If it's Neymar, it will bring in Neymar. We'll fix the deal. We'll do whatever we want for you. If you let him go for free, you should just let him go in January and get some money. It makes no sense to let him go for free in the summer, and that's unfortunately what we're going to. For me, like Ronaldo, he wanted to leave. Perez didn't want to give him a contract. Whatever it was, we said, okay, let's break even. We'll sell you for what we brought you in, and then we've already made our money from all your jersey sales, right? And so it allowed us to be able to transition. You know, Pirlo is going to be a failure. You heard it here first. Pirlo is going to be a failure. Do you know why? Because Pirlo, if he didn't have Ronaldo, there's no chance he would have taken this job. There's no chance. Like he has no experience. You know, everybody was saying that about Zidane, but Zidane actually coached the Castilla team. He coached a lot of young people that are on the team now. He coached with Ancelotti. Ancelotti said, if I'm going to come, I want Zidane to be my assistant coach. Brought in Isco did phenomenally, right? You know, he because of his presence alone, you had Benzema who like woke up and understood his job as a supporter for Bale and Ronaldo. I don't think any other coach would have been able to put that mentality in their heads other than Zidane, because he just commands respect. He commands that he knows what he's talking about. This guy's won it all. He's done it all. He's seen it all.
Yeah.
And I think that's the difference, right? Pirlo has won it all, and done it all. The problem with Pirlo for me is that he hasn't have the experience of being a manager on this you know on a comparative level of even like a youth team, right?
Great.
And so there's a lot of coaches, managers open right now that will take a job for a top team in Italy, a top team in Spain, or a top team in England. And I just want to say this real quick. Your boy Ole has grown, and I am not an Ole fan. I've always said that, and you know how I feel. Ole for me, just because I'm a manager, Ole for me is this: he knows how to get across to the players what he expects. Whether they execute it and whether it's a good plan is different. What he did with PSG was a masterclass. He changed the moment Tuchel, who for me is garbage. The moment Tuchel made some tweaks and put Neymar in the as a cam, what did he do? Dude made some tweaks, put in Pogba, made some shifts. Boom! You were then all of a sudden PSG looked like they could get exposed at any turn. Anytime that Neymar was on the ball, it was not going to turn out to be good. Did the same thing on the weekend with Chelsea. Sure, it ended the job, but they both said actually, we are going to make sure that we don't concede goals. And the difference was Lampard. For me, Lampard is a little bit crazy. That guy he's not going to be successful this time. He's gotten a lot of good names, but he still doesn't. He's done what Barcelona is doing. You don't secure the D. You don't put Conte. He's expecting Conte to move with the ball. He's exposing his defenders. That's why they're so
Conte is their Messi. He expects everything to be done, and I agree with you. I think if I look at the teams now, and you're 100% right, I look at PSG and I think this is maybe their final year before they start declining. I look at Man U and I'm like, okay, they can continue a year or two before we see. I look at Madrid and I think if they don't buy someone top-notch, Galacticos, I think they're going to be in deep trouble. Yeah. I look at Barcelona and the turmoil we're going, I'm thinking, thank God it's now, but also what a pain we're going through. But I agree with you. There needs to be a plan. La Masia won't happen for another 10 years because it's going to take 10, 15 years to find talent players. If I look at Barcelona, I'm thinking, is Dybala the answer? Is Martinez the answer? Is Sancho the answer?
Not Dybala.
Who on that team can actually support Messi? To Jeff's point, if we want to keep Messi, get this guy what he needs, win one more year, and then just let it ride for another 2-3 years and see. Okay, we're in a transition period.
Yeah,
because that's the nature. Exactly.
It's so competitive.
It's the nature of a team, and if PSG gets a blank check from Madrid, 250 million, let's just put a number on it, PSG would have enough money to go and find themselves some young guys.
Oh yeah,
and say okay. And Barcelona could potentially cash on that if they wanted to. Okay, here go some players here. We have some players. Do you want to trade this guy? There'll be a leeway. If I look at Chelsea, to Jeff's point, Lampard is crazy because this guy has the most talented squad potentially on paper and he still can't do anything out of it. I look at Pep and I'm thinking, this guy is so obsessed with the defense. It's now become his black goat. It's the one thing. It's his Achilles heel. He has no clue what to do anymore because he's too much talent. And you're thinking, too much. This guy has 8 players.
Well, he
has no
brought
clue.
in Diaz and Ake, but
it's not
the change.
Who was the guy at City that Barcelona was trying to get and then it fell through? The defender.
Eric, Garcia. The thing with Garcia, again, I think Barcelona are getting high on the fact that Pep consider him a top guy. They're considering potentially that Pep believes in him. I don't believe in him. If I were Barcelona, I would stop listening to Pep and go after the Inter guy or Koulibaly from Napoli. Those guys are plug-in plays.
Or bring Pep back if that's the case.
The problem.
If you're letting Pep decide everything and he's not on your team, just bring him back.
Yeah.
The problem with Pep is something that severely happened that should have never happened to a coach out there. His best friend died at that place.
Oh, right.
And the coach and the board made it seem as though he can just pick up the pieces and leave. And they treated that man so poorly that I think for him now Barcelona is tainted because he grew up to love that club. And
I didn't know that.
It hurt his feelings. If I lost my best friend at that club that I basically left him in the reins and he passed away, there's no way I'm going back. There's no way I'm going to have the same feeling.
Oh, dude. What's
Villanova.
Yo, I like Villanova too, man.
He was a fantastic coach.
Yeah,
but
I was a big fan of him.
The fact that he passed away makes, for me, seeing Pep come back as a coach never possible. I see more Pochettino or Xavi coming in. I would have preferred to see Puyol again and smack Piqué and be like, hey, stop talking, just play, you know?
Or even bring like a Park or something and say, but then you have to have Xavi as your assistant coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, give Xavi the ability to develop. If you really want him to be the future and you want to build a transitioning midfield future with him, then do that. Transition. Yeah.
Arteta is the perfect example of what happened.
I was going to say that too.
He transitioned from a player, learned from the best, went left, got a top role. Regardless of if we like the Gunners or not, it's a top team that you can actually take because those guys with the potential and cash, they could be easily a top team. It's going to take time, but they're a top team candidate. If I look at Xavi, why isn't he the assistant Koeman? Why isn't he the assistant of Zidane? Anyone top.
Anyone
top. For me, exactly.
After Arteta left, he should have been like, yo, Pep, let me join up.
Exactly. As Jeff said, Pirlo, Lampard, Gattuso, Patrick Evra, all are facing the same consequences. Their name got them their job versus their experience.
Yeah.
And now they're suffering from that syndrome, which is, oh wait, the name wasn't enough.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, they were legends for teams that aren't as experimental as the Chelseas.
Correct.
The Juventus. Juventus is suffering from what PSG is suffering from. The fact that their leagues are so basic. And I will say this though, Italy is coming up. France France is unfortunately a breeding ground for all of the other big European teams.
Correct.
They're just stealing French.
Correct.
France right now is France is going through right now what Spain went through at the turn of the Xavi and Iniesta era, right? Where there's so much talent coming out of Spain, and there's Germany. Germany has always been able to push out players, right? But they're very good at keeping them.
German players have always stayed in Germany, though. That's the thing with German players, being able to keep them.
Come back.
Yeah, but that's the number one problem with La Ligue. It's that we have a breed of fantastic players, but they just won't stay because they're not earning enough money, and they can't go to the top teams. I mean, the average salary over there is a joke compared to the top Prem teams. I think France is, as you said, they're. It's not even that they're entering; they are in the best era that they can. I mean, if I look at the A team versus the B team versus the C team, it's stacked. And I look at Italy, I'm thinking, okay, Italy's up and coming. They have some strong players. I look at Germany, I'm like, okay, they're suffering from this, Rehal syndrome, but they have a stacked team. I look at Holland and Belgium, and I'm like, okay, those guys, it's just not the same anymore. Yeah. It's not going to be good. I look at England, I'm thinking, you guys have a team, but it's the same issue every year. Can't get a coach to get you up there. It's
Yeah.
sad. And then I look at
But
Spain.
I think it's the whole the England's problem is the pressure
Rivalry.
is too high.
Rivalry. It's the
Pressure
rivalry.
is but that's the thing, right? Everybody is rivaling everybody because everybody is
I think England. I could be wrong, but I think England takes it so seriously that the Prem is more important than Champions League. That when they play together, somehow it still sticks with them. I'm from Liverpool. I'm from Man U. I'm still fighting for it. They don't function as a team as they should.
You know what? Yeah, Gary Neville did say that in an interview. He said that's why his class, his generation, they did not do well because they actually were that, they sat on different tables in the cafeteria, right? It was because you're playing with your Liverpool player, we can't talk to you, or a City player, we can't talk to you.
It's the mentality.
Now. You can kind of see that is Rashford is playing, FIFA with Mason Mount, even though they're rivals on the pitch, Chelsea United, but because of social media and it's a different age now, right, for these players. So you can see a bit of the cohesion in the England squad. I think it's more of I just think Southgate is just playing names. He's not actually picking players for what they actually are. And I think that's where you need somebody who can not just picking someone because, it's like he's still picking, Trent Alexander-Arnold. Like, why? I do get it. He was great for Liverpool. But when you have someone like Wan-Bissaka on the bench who's actually pretty good defensively, why do you keep picking Trent all the time? So it's just little things.
See what Josh did? He just picked a Man U player over a Liverpool player. See what just happened? See what just happened?
I can say the same thing too. It's like, why isn't Grealish playing?
Far better. Trent is far better. You went with your Man U mindset and you decided a Man U player. This is exactly what I'm saying.
You try to sneak it in there, why is
I do have one question. I do have one question for you guys. If Fergie were to take England, how far do you think England would go?
That's a different. It's different. Countries.
I don't
mind.
Straight up. Where would he go? If Zidane takes France, where would he go? Same question. You put those key guys not in the clubs and international. Where do you think they would go? If Fergie takes over that England team, I guarantee you, they'll play as a team. Why? Because he loves players to build a bond. And you said it right now. They're at the lowest potential in terms of not social media, etc. That they're playing together. They need to kill that rivalry. When Italy comes together, they play together. When Germany comes together, they play together. It's the country before the clubs. Spain, etc. Somehow in England, it's rivalry. If I look at Zidane taking over France, he'll bring this different aspect. He'll kick out Giroud. He'll put Mbappe up front. He'll probably kick out Griezmann, and he'll build around that core. If I look at Fergie, and I ask you again, if Fergie were to take over England, can he do it, or will it be still the same England?
Yeah, I think he will go far, for sure, because he'll create more discipline on the English team, and he would be able to manage the players to not get the press in their heads. And I think that's another thing too. England is
that's the problem with England. The press for me, and it's crazy though, because the press in Spain is also pretty wild.
It is.
Right? And the thing is that like the problem in EPL is this. They keep mixing up the fact that it's English is the most spoken language in the world, and that EPL is the most watched league in the world. It's because it's an English-speaking league. It's not because EPL plays this phenomenal soccer that nobody sees anywhere else when they turn on their TV. And that's the thing for me that irritates me. I love Arsenal. In England, I am an Arsenal fan. For me, I think that England, if they pull away from this holier than thou attitude. Case in point, Pep Guardiola was going to come to Man City. Everybody knew that. For 4 years, everybody knew he was already signed. And what happened? Oh, we're getting the best coach in the world. He's going to come. In England, EPL is changing. No more Mourinho's. No more this, no more that. And then what happened? He comes in. Question after question after question. Why aren't you doing this? Why is your defense leaky? Why are you always sticking to these tactics? Why is you always tiki-taka? Why are you always pushing up? And what did he do? He just bat him away. He wins the league with the most points ever. And then what happens? Oh my God, we have the best league. And it's this. You're replaying the same movie over and over again because you forget to realize that your media is controlling the mentality of your league, not the players, not the coaches, right? And so for me, let the players show on the field why they are the best. Let the players show on the field why the teams are the best. Right now, what I'm seeing in EPL this year is that EPL is highly competitive, right? And it's not because EPL is awesome or something like that, but it's because you now have more than 6 teams all vying for top 4.
Stacked. They're
in La
stacked.
Liga, you have 3 teams vying for top 4, and then everybody else, right?
Yeah.
In Germany, the same thing. 2 teams, maybe 3 teams every now and then. France, 2 teams. Italy, now all of a sudden you're back to your 14 battle, right? And stick to the right narrative, and stop saying that, oh, we're the best league, because nobody outside of England says that their league is the best. Nobody says that. They say their club is the best. Focus on the club and focus on that mentality. And I think the media will always be the Achilles heel of the England national.
You see
so many players to choose from, and if you don't choose one player that the media likes, they're going to dash you, and they're going to destroy the coach, and then it's going to destroy the mentality. And what's going to happen? You're going to lose to Croatia in the semifinal in Russia.
I will say that again, to your point on media, the U.S. does its best job when it comes to promoting games. NBA, NFL. When you watch a game like that, you see the mass marketing behind is unreal. I look at the Prem League and I think the marketing to make it the best league is amazing because they're pumping so much money. If I look at La Liga, it's all Spanish. Like if you don't speak Spanish or you get a chance in watching it in French or another language, you won't really understand La Liga because half of the guys are not what you're thinking. And you go to France, same thing. It's very French league. They're not going to see it. And I agree with Jeff. I think the Prem is the hottest right now because the teams are stacked. But if I look at another league that's stacked, I really look at Italy. I see Spain is going through a rehaul overall. All their teams are just sick. If I look at, they're affected by Corona, for sure. If I look at La Liga or Ligue 1 in France, I'm thinking we could experience PSG's last year, maybe 2, before they start seeing serious signs of decline. I wouldn't be surprised if they fired Tuchel mid-year because they're just they're like, it's now or never. And I look at Italy and I'm like, okay, some of these teams are now seriously strong, like Napoli, Lazio, Inter, AC. Okay, these teams are coming up. They're no longer. They were in the rehaul phase. Yeah, Atalanta. They were in the rehaul phase. We kind of forget them and put them in a box, but now they're back. And I look at Germany. I'm thinking, Germany took all the French guys from La Ligue or Ligue 1 and brought them over there. Leipzig is a perfect example. Those guys are just, it's just unreal. If I look at the leagues right now, if I were to assess who's going to be in Champions League, it would have to be between Italy and maybe Prem, seeing on the performance.
Oh yeah,
we know it might not end up being that way, but if I look on performance, those are the 2 that have a better chance in Champions League, and it'll be interesting. Again, Barcelona, Madrid. Definitely disappointing game overall. Whatever happened. I think we should stop blaming coaches. I think Madrid will benefit from Mbappe for sure. Barcelona will. Let's see what happens with
Barcelona will figure it out, and
they'll figure it out.
Because even
they'll figure it out
when Ronaldo left, you guys were like, oh yeah, no, Real Madrid will figure it out, right? When Ronaldo left,
exactly.
you said that, I'm sure, right? And I honestly believe Barcelona is too big now. The name is too big with Messi or without Messi to fail, and I think, I know we're wrapping. I just want to say this one thing because I feel like I need to say it for the EPL fans that may or may not watch this. Bale will fail you. The problem with Bale was not because of ability, it was mentality, and nobody knows this. But when everybody did a pay cut, Bale didn't want one. Bale is money. Bale is not all this thing about, he was being benched and he was being hated, didn't speak the language. How would you like it if someone came to EPL and refused to speak English? You think the EPL media wouldn't be on him? You think his teammates wouldn't be on him? For me, again, I will say this: Mourinho is very good at putting on multiple faces. And right now, the face he's putting on is that he's I'm for the team. Wait, just you wait. Bill will get this one injury in the next international break, and it'll all fall apart. And
I fully agree. I fully agree with Bale. I fully agree with Bale. I don't think he's the answer. I think he's a compliment. But if I look at Son and Kane, those guys are on fire. I mean, if I were to get one player now, if I had a blank check and I had to get one player now, it would be Kane without a question. Without a question, Kane. I would get him to Barcelona immediately. If I could get another, I would still get him just because of the way he plays, the way he passes to Son. I can see him as complimenting. Now, whether he's the right fit, no. But I'm just saying, if I were to have one blank check for one guy besides Mbappe, which is the holy grail, it would be Kane.
If for me, if it wasn't Mbappe, it would be Haaland.
Yeah,
it would brought Haaland. Holland.
Oh, wow.
He would be because
to get.
Right, and that's the thing. I don't think we can get Sancho. Sancho for me, we can't get Mbappe, Sancho, and Haaland. For me, it's Mbappe next summer, Camavinga next summer, then it's Haaland the summer after, and then Real Madrid will be fine because we'll find another Spanish defender.
As a French national, I will say that there's too much pressure on Camavinga. Too much pressure on
He handles it very well.
He handles it well, but there's too much pressure. Maybe Achilles' heel will be to go to Madrid. I really think Madrid should be careful in buying this guy. He's a good player, but he needs to nourish. And I'm kind of afraid he goes to Madrid and he doesn't make it. Like Ndombele left for Spurs, amazing player, and then he can't make it there. Because again, the same issue, as you said, Jeff, he didn't want to speak English. He doesn't want to integrate. He doesn't like the country. He was used to more sun. I have a fear that Camavinga may be like a great name now, but doesn't. I love the player. I want to see him nourished, but I am afraid of this too quick, like Robinho, too quick, too soon.
Yeah. I agree with that because.
Go ahead.
Oh, sir. I was saying I do agree with that just because he's only 17, 18 years old. Playing for Rennes, which is he's in the French league, which is it's a good league, but anybody can shine. Anybody at that level can shine in the French league, and then
but
you have
they're in Champions League though, right? So
that's too though. There's certain players that because it's that whole thing. Sometimes people don't understand that when you're in a certain club, you can perform. So someone, sorry, not to bring this back to United, but someone made a comment the other day. It's like Matt Letitia. He used to play for Southampton in the 90s. Great French kid that who used to score for like amazing goals. And the person was saying that why can Marc Letitia shine in Southampton, but Pogba can't shine in United? And that's not comparing apples to oranges. It's about in a club like Southampton. First of all, you don't really have a target. Your coach's target is just stay in the league. That's not the hardest target you can ever put on a player or on a coach. Just figure it to stay. It's kind of like Grealish in Aston Villa. Yeah, he's a great player. He's he's carrying Aston Villa, but take him out of Aston Villa now and put him in Liverpool or Chelsea or Barcelona or Real Madrid. He's going to be a different player because it's no longer about him just doing his best to keep an okay-ish team in a position versus now. No, it's not just about playing for a club like United or Real Madrid or Barcelona. Now it's you have to win things and you have to perform at a high level consistently. So with the point there, I think Camavinga, it's going to take him time. I think he's got a great future ahead of him, but I think it will be too soon for any team to have him as like one of their main guys right now. I think it will be too soon.
I think Camavinga should be the same thing as Mbappe. He didn't go to Madrid right away. He went to Paris. He proved himself. He is the guy to go to. He's ready for that next level. I am afraid for Camavinga that he goes to Madrid and it goes too soon and his talents are wasted. Now he could he could show us wrong. He could be the next talent, and any team would want him right now. He's the top list for sure. But I am afraid that at 17 years old, he gets introduced to all these fame. The pressure's on. He starts adjusting himself to things. Obviously, you know, when you join a top club, you know, there's a lot that goes with it: money, fame, girls, cars, etc. It starts getting to your head. And at 17 years old, he may be handling like a champ, but it all could change. And I would say, I would say for Real, I would really focus on. If I was Real, I'd really focus on getting that key guy, which is Mbappe, and then seeing what else I could fill the gaps for the defender. Maybe get Delete. Get Delete that was top and is wasting his talent.
That. Ronaldo, if it wasn't for Ronaldo, we would have got Delete. I'm telling you, he only went. He only went there because of Ronaldo. But correct. But I agree. I think Camavinga, he's, you know, I think he has the mentality to make it. You know, his parents didn't want him to go to Real Madrid last summer. Or this summer because they're like, you know, it's Real Madrid, it's a lot of money, it's a different country, just wait. And I'm even Mbappe's parents advised him with the same thing, and he made the right decision. And I'm not afraid of never getting Camavinga, just like I was never afraid of never getting Mbappe because they were too young when they blew up. But I agree with you. It does make more sense to figure out the D. Hopefully this year we will, and Militao will figure himself out and stop wandering the field like Marcelo. And maybe that's the defensive to figure it out. But we are lucky that Casemiro is only 28 and we have time to figure out a replacement for him. Camavinga was supposed to be that person. Once somebody declares the love for Madrid, they're coming. And players have always said this, like when Real Madrid comes knocking and they say they want you go. Right. Yeah. I have no problem with that. I'm not worried about money. I'm not worried about any of those things. But I agree. I think Mbappe, and they're figuring out how it's going to work with Hazard, and then Modric's replacement. Modric, we need a replacement for Modric. It's not Eriksen. Thank God we didn't fall for that. It's not Donny van de Beek. I'm glad we didn't go for that.
He's not that good.
And the question is, who is the up and coming midfield player, box to box, that we need? I don't know. I haven't really thought about that.
I would say Tonali. Tonali is a good player from Italy. I would say he's a very good guy that could plug the hole. I think that depends on how you use. I think Camavinga could be a good player. I will say
is that stopgap.
Yeah,
Valverde replaced Madrid, and then I think Kai Havertz wants to come to Madrid because of Cruz. It's a possibility, and then replace Casemiro Camavinga. 3 years, 4 maybe 4 years max from now. And then you have to. But could be somebody could be team that as well.
Could be Pogba. Could be Pogba as well. I think I wouldn't cast. No, I know he's going to be expensive for sure, but as much as I don't like Pogba, I think Man U is just now it's at a point where it's just the wrong team for him. He can't play there. He needs to go to a lower league.
Josh knows. I love Pogba. Yeah. But again, the reason why Pogba worked in Juve and didn't work in United doesn't really work in United. You answered it. It's a Leicester argument. At Juve, there's no real stress. Back then, Juve was so many miles ahead of all the other teams in Italy.
He had a stacked team. He had a stacked team.
For me, he should have stayed in Juventus. And then, but hindsight is 2020. He's in United now. He's showing that he can do it when he goes to France. I don't know. For me, Mourinho really destroyed 2 years of his career. Van Gaal. Van Gaal really he didn't set up United to be able to bring in a player like Pogba, because Pogba came in there and the midfield was midfield was garbage, right? And so I think Pogba, you said it in your last podcast, Josh. Give them a chance. Stop hating on your players. Give them a chance. I was watching the Man United game yesterday, and they were talking about how Pogba needs to watch what Fred and McTominay is doing, and this is how you play with. It's not about ability. It's about Martin Tyler's co-anchor, that the colorful commentator, whatever his name is. He hates Pogba. He's like, Pogba, I hope you're watching. He hates him.
He hates that guy so much.
And that's the whole
he hates that guy so much.
Because fans hear that and they're like, "Oh, he's a legend," or "Oh, he knows soccer. I should hate Pogba." And then
I think
directly it doesn't help.
I think it's I think it's
Problem
I
is
think
the media,
nobody around him, and the media is making it worse.
I think I know we got to wrap this up, but I think that in the media is just killing Pogba the way he is too. I will say in the French team, I don't personally like him there. I think he holds up the ball. I think he's a perfect sub, but not a starter. I will say I'll ask one question to Josh. If you had to sell him to Madrid or Barcelona, where would he do better?
That's a tough one. I'll say Real Madrid because I think he would do well in Real Madrid because Pogba, he's not because Barcelona, they have their style of play. He's not a guy that he's gonna be I think Pogba is a more direct kind of player. He's not a tiki taka kind of player. Yeah, he's a direct player whereby you have a few fast guys. He can lob the ball in. He has a good defensive unit like Casemiro, which I want to say, man, no one talked about him in the game of yesterday, but those tackles on Messi, come on, those were world class. Like
it goes back to the ref. If the ref is going to blow a penalty that was clearly a foul, then blow the penalty for Messi because it was a clear foul.
That was not a foul. The second yellow you're talking about, he didn't touch Messi. You looking again? He didn't touch Messi.
You see,
Messi popped him, and then Messi then nicked him and tried to fall. If it would have foul, it was not a foul.
It was a foul because he had already a yellow, so he should have been cautious and going in as an aggressive tackle from behind. You can see that, okay, it's a bit too much for a yellow. When your player has a yellow, he should buzz off. He should
not even world class like Casemiro, man.
Even if he's world class,
man.
No, those tackles were brutal.
Have all those in the EPL just because of the coming from behind. A lot of times, it doesn't matter how clean
it does. Exactly, it doesn't matter how clean you get.
It's the intent, right? So
the two mistakes the ref made was one, he should have given a yellow for Varane because of the handball. Maybe not a penalty, but it was here. It was here. That's a handball. Anything beyond here is a handball. And he's in a penalty area.
His hand was at his body, man.
That's a penalty. No, I'm not saying it's a penalty, but it's in the box, unintentional and non-intentional. There are players that have gotten worse in penalties for that. He should have gotten the yellow and moved on.
Those are wrong decisions. That's the difference. EPL had a bunch of those. Those are wrong decisions. If my hand is away from my body, fine. But if my hand is, first, think about it this way. Why would Varane try to put his hand out to block a clearance from his center back? Like, come on. And he had no idea.
I'm not saying he wanted to do that. I'm saying unintentional or not, it shouldn't have happened. That's what I'm saying. In a key game like this, if you're going to blow every single mistake, you're going to have to look at those.
He didn't.
That's my point. He didn't, but he blows this. He doesn't blow. It was a foul. He should have given it. That's my point. I don't understand why he gave the penalty if he's not going to blow certain things. Like he didn't give it's consistency because the Betis one that Betis posted a post that say, hey, he clearly was polling. That should have been a penalty. Yeah, I agree. That should have been a penalty. If you're going to blow everything, then just do it all. Blow for the yellow hand, blow for the foul, blow for it shouldn't be inconsistent. And that's what's making Barcelona and other teams think that Madrid have the upper hand, which is not true. It's just the refs are inconsistent. It's annoying.
And you know what? I just to end this on a positive word from me, and I won't say anything else. Wrap this up, Jack. I think us as soccer fans need to get off the refs' back. We wanted VAR to make things better. We got it, and now we're pissed because the way they're executing is not right. Because why? Because it takes money to invest in technology and to bring it up. There needs to be a transition point, just like what's happening with teams. There's a transition point. Stop being mad at the refs. They're doing the best that they can. They'll figure out eventually, and they'll get better. The technology will also get better. I think, honestly, offside should never be a human eye. It should be laser. Done. I don't know why we're doing it this way. That's UEFA and FIFA's problem, and they messed that up. Let's stop being mad at refs. Let's stop being angry when we don't get consistency across games, within games, because ultimately, it's everything is that you have human error the moment you want to maintain human error. And that's what a soccer fan said. Oh, let's have technology, but we still want to keep the integrity of soccer. Sure. Then understand that there's going to be a transition point where right now we probably went from 90% down to about 85% consistency in referee calls. But technology and this VAR has the ability to bring us to 95%. So let's wait. Let's go through it. Real Madrid, there was a period where we weren't getting calls, and I was pissed off. I remember that, and everybody's calling, Bar Madrid now, right? They're angry in England, they're angry in Italy, they're angry in Spain. Let's get off the ref back. Let's let them do their job, because the more we get off their back, they'll be able to make more better calls, right?
Yeah.
They really should be making better calls because there's no fans in the stadium. So let's get off their back. Let's let them do their job, just like we let the coaches and the players do their jobs. Only get mad when they're not out there enthusiastic. And if a ref is looking this way and the player's over here, be mad at the ref, right?
Yeah.
That's when you get mad.
I think that the refs have to be. I don't know how they can do this, but I agree with you. If the ref needs to be consistency, then I think they also need to replay what rules are rules, because there are things we're seeing in EPL that don't happen in La Liga. There are things that are happening in La Liga that we don't see in EPL. If we're going to go with the whole VAR situation, then make it consistent across Europe and make it like an EU ruling on refs, and just make those things. Because as you said, Josh, like some of these tackles that happen in Madrid wouldn't have happened in EPL. Yeah, because the EPL have different rules. And that shouldn't be the case. And those tackles that were like, if Casemiro had done that in Ligue 1, they would have been like, that's fine. And if he had done that in EPL, it would have been like, that's a red, get off the field. And La Liga is like this middle thing, like, they're pro Madrid. Well, if they're pro Madrid, then make it consistency. You hear the issue, make it consistent across the board. And I agree with you. I hate blaming the ref. So when the coach Koeman did that, good Lord, I can't stand that. So ending the thing on a positive note, 2025, we'll be back, not before.
Okay, guys. Okay, wow. This has been we can keep going on. We can keep going for like the entire day. This has been a really fun conversation, but obviously because of time, we have to cut it short. But honestly, this has been an amazing conversation from everybody. Like you said, I think the frustration with VAR is going to be there, and I don't think that's ever going to change. But the good thing about VAR is everybody's team benefits from it at some point, right? It's just, I know it sucks because your team might not benefit from it when you want them to,
or when they need it the most.
Yeah. There's a reason why they call him Bruno Fernandes Penandes, but I'm not complaining. Exactly. So when there's a handball against United, I'm not complaining because we've also had like 15 calls go our way. So I think it's just, we just have to be calm. But I think the ability to be able to go back on plays, I like that, because there's a lot of times in football history or sports history whereby things have happened and it's just so frustrating that you can't go back and overturn that bad, horrendous decision. So,
I will say that fans as well have to get on board. If we're going to go all in with VAR, let's go all in. If you don't like VAR and we need to go back to not having VAR, then make a decision. If it's been decided that we're not going to go back and have this little banter, that should have been offside, okay, then VAR tried to fix that. Don't blame the ref after that because VAR is in there. In the games yesterday, there were some inconsistencies, but in the end, VAR worked, and it was what it was, and we have to accept the result. And blaming the ref, as Jeff said, isn't going to solve our problems. We shouldn't have been in that position in the first place. And I really hope we fix this issue with refs. And I think Barcelona will figure out, as Jeff said. I think Real Madrid are in for a stellar next summer in terms of what they're going to buy. I think Man U will be. I think I give them another year before they try and figure things out at a different level in terms of buying. I will say that I think we're entering the final phase of Pep and Paris Saint-Germain. I really think that this and next year will maybe be the end of both teams in terms of where they want to go. I think City is too stacked. They have no clue who to play. They're too stacked. It's just their team is, like Jeff said, if you're going to flip the team, you can still do it and they still wouldn't figure it out. And then PSG, if they lose Mbappé, they're in real trouble because they have no one to back it up. No one. And they can't afford it.
I have no idea how City's keeping all these players happy. Like, Madrid did it that year when we won the third Champions League in a row. We have Morata, James, people on the bench who were starting for other teams, and what did they do? They left. They're like, text them like, I gotta go. I need to start. I need to play. I need to start. The city is gonna get that at some point. Pep Guardiola is so big that on one TV, once the board is like, we gotta go a different direction, all those players are like, I want to go. I need time. So we'll see. And last thing, come on, why are players still doing that? Why are they still tugging people in the box when they know VAR's watching? You know, why is someone like Lamela slapping Martial when they know VAR is watching? You know, those things players also they need to wake up because they know VAR. So don't get mad when your player does something stupid in the box and then VAR goes and says, "Oh yeah, let's look at it." You know,
imagine VAR would have been there when Suarez bit Cellini.
Oh,
that would have been and he got banned for it. But imagine VAR had caught him in the game. Imagine VAR would have been there for Zidane's headbutt in the final of the World Cup. Granted, it would have probably made the same decision, but it would have been brutal. Like there are things that players. Exactly. There are things. There are things now that players need to get on board, and I agree with Jeff. Like Longley shouldn't have pulled his jersey yesterday. Plain and simple. That was a defending mistake, and he should be held responsible, not the ref.
Yeah.
So it is what it is.
Yeah, and that's really it, right? It's like you don't put yourself in certain positions that will. It's like, you know, when you're like running for the ball, you're trying to win a 50-50, and the moment you put your hand on a player, it doesn't matter if you didn't tackle the player, you got the ball, the ref is still going to call it. So it's just those little things that you should just know, you know, that it's never going to go, the call is never going to go your way. But yeah,
debating it will make it easier. You're going to get a yellow just for debating it. That's what I don't understand. I see some of these players, and then they look around, they're like, oh my God, what did I do? And you're looking around, you're like, I wouldn't be debating if I were you. Your hand was caught in the cookie jar. I don't understand why you're debating.
Yeah. I was just admiring the cookie jar.
Yeah, that's what I was doing. Yeah.
Well, guys, it's definitely been fun. I hope to have you guys on very soon. Jeff,
depends
you might
if Man U depends. Depends if Man U is another question because we can't talk about Man U no more.
No, definitely not. Definitely not. It's overdone. Let's just give it till December, and then we might have to talk about them again. But yeah, we'll definitely keep this going. Please continue to like, subscribe, and share. And yeah, so we'll be back next time for another exciting episode. Till next time, we'll see you guys.
Cheers, guys.
All right, take care.
Have a good one, boys.
Cheers.